Hello and welcome to Your Health Moment podcast. I'm your host, Max Sturdivant, better known as Dr. Fitness. On this podcast, I want to give you the tools to start, continue, and never give up on your journey towards health. Now, whether you struggle with your weight, eating the right food, hydration, exercise, or even time management, you're in the right place, and I'm here for you. Now, let's dive right into this episode. This episode is brought to you by McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Centers. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Your Health Moment. I'm your host, Dr. Fitness, and as always, we're going to discuss all things holistic health and wellness. But today's not going to be any different than that. So what we're going to do is we have the pleasure of interviewing Dai Manuel. Now, Dai's on a mission to inspire and positively impact 1 million role models across the globe, encouraging them to lead fun, functional, healthy lives through education, community, and a whole lot of encouragement. And we're going to discuss some of the ways that Dai encourages people to lead a functionally healthy life. So we're going to get right into it. And Dai, before we do though, if you could do me a favor and just give us a quick bio about you and, some of your values and, what's important and why are we doing this?
Well, cool. Well, Dr. Fitness, Max, first of all, just to meet another person that's just as into helping others and making an impact in the world. Selfishly, that's also why I'm very excited to be here and honored to be here because you and I have similar values and similar desires and how we want to make an impact in the world. And I knew this a long time ago. At age 17, I went through I was actually age 15, I started a health transformation myself. Went from morbidly obese teenager, playing a lot of video games, watching a lot of movies, eating a lot of very nutrition poor yet calorie rich foods. So, after 5 years, it wasn't rocket science how I got to that place of unhealth. But when I made the mental shift to want to be healthy, it's amazing, but it only took 20 months to release what took me 6 years to put on. And I like people to just keep that in mind.
That's impressive.
Yeah, well, when you decide to
Seriously,
make a change.
That's impressive.
Well, also my age helped, right? I was 17, puberty was kicking in. So I had a little bit of help from that, but also I had a nice support network around me. And so that was very instrumental in seeing that change. But at 17, all of a sudden I had people reaching out to me, like people double my age or more than double my age, like my friends and my parents saying, "Hey, you've done this amazing change. Do you think you could help us a little bit? We want to get a little healthier."
That's impressive.
And that was the first time in my life I felt like I had something of value to offer. 17 years in life. And that was the first time I really felt like I had something that I could do that was special.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And so at that point, it was pretty easy. I was like, man, this makes me feel really fulfilled. I feel really happy and joyful when I'm helping people with this. I don't know what the rest of my life looks like, but I think this is going to be a part of it, helping people with this. And sure enough, fast forward, I'm now 47. There's been a lot of opportunity to help people and through different means. I've had a number of different businesses. I got into the retail side of fitness where I was selling fitness equipment, accessories, wholesale, B2B and B2C, as well as omni-channel all across Canada on the e-com space. Did that also for 17 years. And then after the fact, just got to a place where I felt like I wasn't being fulfilled by that choice anymore career-wise. And so I made some shifts about 8 years ago. And now here I am in Vancouver talking to you and got both of the kids out of the house as of this fall.
Vancouver.
And so, I'm just trying to figure out what's next.
Wow. Vancouver, one of my favorite cities.
Woo-hoo. Well, next time you're in town, we're going to get a workout in, Max.
That town is really about health and lifestyle and quality of living. So to be in that environment, it's like, wow, that's just, I could see, selling equipment in like Vancouver.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it'd be that hard.
Well,
with it's totally health conscious.
There's pockets of it, right? Like in every place, but Vancouver, because we're such an outdoor city, we've had the Olympics here. We've got the mountains. even though we have all the seasons, literally, like Seattle, we're very much similar climate. It's Pacific Northwest. We are a rainforest. We get a lot of rain certain times of the year, but we don't get as much snow. The snow is actually in the mountains, which is nice. So you get that select. Like, I quite literally, I could go golfing in January, but also go up to the mountains and snowboard for the afternoon. So I love
cool.
that active lifestyle, and the outdoors here support it really well.
So when it comes to our listeners, from your experience, because like you've said, you've done this transformation thing when you were 17 years old and was encouraging other people. So how do you help people to stay true to their values when it comes to fitness, or to even uncover them? Because I think some people don't even know what their values are when it comes to fitness. What are your thoughts about that?
That's a great observation, and it's very true. It's very true. And I guess fitness, when we really think about what is fitness is a conduit, if you will, or a pathway to seeing certain markers in our life improve. If you're sort of a data head and you like the science to change, well, keep in mind, when you start doing things differently than you've done before, you're usually going to get some different results. But fitness is a very intentional act, right? Like, it's intentional. Like, we're like, I'm going to go do some fitness. And what do we mean by that? Well, I'm going to go and move my body with some purpose to elicit some sort of positive adaptation or evolution of my health specifically. And we know that the best way to see some health markers move is moving our body, and obviously nutrition, how we fuel it, that plays into it. How do we rest and recover? That plays into it. But that first initial step that gives us instant feedback is exercise. Fitness, moving our body. And I think it's one of those things, like, it wasn't a value of mine naturally. I mean, no, it was furthest from it. I mean, video games or exercise. Oh yeah, video games all the way, right? At that age. And to be fair, I was looking for those little dopamine escapes. I was looking for those instant gratification moments because I was feeling so just depressed, and sad about my life and my current health situation. And I really felt hopeless. And I think it's that feeling that many of us feel,
Yeah, I think a lot of people can really relate to that. And so I think I hear you saying, if you are a sign that fitness may not be of high value to you, could be if you're depressed, maybe, or if
it's a bridge to other values. I think is a way that I sort of looked at it, because there were certain aspects, like, I wanted to feel just good in my own skin. That was sort of where things began. I wanted to feel better about myself. I wanted to, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't want to have to avoid shield my eyes from seeing my reflection. I want to be able to look at that person looking back at me and say, "Hey, not only do I know you, I actually like you," and I think it's that idea of that self-reflection and introspection that can sometimes be very challenging when we're not feeling very hopeful and not very in control of our own health. And so, finding value in certain areas, like family, has always been a value. So when I really started thinking, and this is more when I got into my 20s and 30s, as I started to work with more individuals, I realized that it's aligning with some of their more primary values. Fitness may not be a natural value for them yet being the operative word, right? But there might be family as a huge value. And so it's tying in, okay, well, if your primary non-negotiable, meaning that you never negotiate on that family commitment to that value, we prioritize that one above others. Well, how can fitness help you get more out of that value and honor that value more effectively? Because I start talking to people, like, especially guys in our 40s. I'm a guy in my 40s, and we're starting to think about the second half of life right now. And I'm like, I want my second half of life to be better than my first half of life. I want to be the grandpa that picks my grandkids up, throws them around a little bit, has some fun, kicks the ball, is very active as I was with my own kids. And so for me, fitness, is it a value? In a way it is, but it's really a value that allows me to better honor my family values. And so that's something that I often ask people, because I hear from a lot of people, fitness ain't one of my values. I don't think it'll ever be one of my values, because some people just don't like exercising. That's fine. Find something else, that gives you the same benefit. but that's sort of where I was going with that sort of value proposition. Fitness is a value of mine, but I realized it wasn't that way when I started.
Interesting,
Yeah.
because I noticed you mentioned family,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw that there were 5
F's. Yeah.
F's.
Yeah.
Family, finances, fitness,
Yeah.
faith. Faith. Oh yes. Yeah. Well, how we can get faith
and fun.
There's one more
and fun.
And
gotta have fun.
You know what? As crazy as it sounds,
Yeah.
and it doesn't sound crazy because everything you say makes total sense,
Right.
and it's fantastic. So the really cool thing about it is when I meet with people,
Mm-hmm.
the one that they usually miss is fun.
Ah, interesting. What do you think that is? What are your thoughts on that?
I have not been able to figure that out.
Yeah.
But fun is not prioritized.
Right.
The same way for a lot of people that finances, fitness,
right,
faith, and family are.
Right.
But as you were making the point just now, that sometimes it takes understanding that fun is going to help those other aspects.
Correct.
So when you add fun in, this is a brilliant point. You've turned fun into a way to really engage people in very pertinent activities and things that they should value. I think it's fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I mean, if we're not smiling at least once every day, there's room for improvement, So that's the way I sort of look at it. And like, let's be fair here. When we're doing things and we feel joyful, fulfilled, happy doing those things, it takes far less convincing of ourselves to do those. That motivation piece. I often hear people talk about, I just don't have any motivation. I'm like, well, are you sure about that? Because I bet you there's some things that you love doing. Like, hey, do you like Netflix? Yeah, I love Netflix. Well, okay. so
you got motivation.
You do have motivation to do things that you enjoy. Let's figure out ways that you can start to enjoy, do things with joy in mind and have that as a byproduct of the act. But let's try some new stuff, even just getting out for a walk for 30 minutes a day and listening to an awesome podcast like this one, right? Like, you can cascade some of these commitments. So you're doing a few different things that benefit you in a few different ways. Because I often hear, I just don't have time to do this stuff, right? Like, I don't have time to be healthy. And I'm like, what are you talking about? If you don't have the time now, you're going to have to make the time later, because it's none of us get out of that one alive, quite literally and figuratively. So why not try to extend our health span by being proactive now, and just establish a healthier relationship with being healthy,
Wow. When you're explaining that to people, do they embrace it? Because you have this great energy that I could see you're, saying it. I haven't mastered that, but I'm telling you, you have an amazing energy, and I'm sure they receive it well. I have a feeling that when you present it,
well, I have enough energy for most of us, and what I mean by that is I think it's because I've embraced this lifestyle so much. It's just like, it is a lifestyle for me now. It's not even a thought like, oh, geez, should I exercise today? It's like, I don't think about that, right? Am I going to start my day with this morning smoothie, which I have sitting here right beside me? No, it's just, I do that, like, there's certain habits that have become more than just habits. They've been ritualized. And so it's not even really a thought anymore, but my days feel incomplete if I don't have them. But it sets me up really well. I know it works for me. And I think that's the thing I really want to invite people to do, because I do recognize, and Max, you can speak to this really well based on the conversations you've had on your podcast, especially, we have all these different subject matter experts, and we all have the same goal in mind. We just want to help people. But sometimes the way we deliver our messages is quite prescriptive. Like a doctor writing a prescription. Yeah, you go take these. You don't take these, you're in trouble. So go take these. And so we feel like, oh, I have to do this now, and I think that have to feeling, it's not very motivating, right? Like, it's more exciting when we come to that conclusion ourselves and we find the joy in it, because it will pull us to keep doing it rather than us trying to push ourselves to do it every day. But it does take time, and we have to be willing to do a little bit of work to figure out what is right for us. Just because this guy's got a morning routine that involves 10 things that he does every morning, does that mean that's the right thing for you? Historically speaking, with some of the past clients that I've worked with, and Max, maybe you can speak to this, but I know myself, I had the best of intentions to follow through. Wow, this is great. I got this morning routine. I do it at 6 a.m. every day. There's all these check. Woohoo, accomplished. I'm ready to crash my day. However, if I missed one or two things, I felt like a failure. I felt like I did something wrong. And if it was a list of 10 things and I got 7 of those things done, those 7 things I did were awesome. But all I could think about were the 3 things that I didn't do. And that's the problem when we prescribe things and we are like very specific, like you got to do it this way, and if you don't do it this way, you're not going to get and I think health is such a personal, subjective conversation. And yeah, we can objectify certain tips, tricks, hacks, but it is a personal journey. And I really love it when people self-discover what health means to them. Wow. But that takes time, right? It's not like we have just the answer to give them, but all we can do is tell them stories. Give them examples and encourage to try things until they find the right solution for them.
Wow. Can you give me an example of one story that you would tell someone that hasn't found their motivation yet to exercise?
Okay. So there's one story, and I think this one will resonate, especially with some of the people that are maybe hitting that 40 plus area. There was this gentleman, and he was a late father. And what I mean by that, he started having kids in his 40s. And this is very common now. Like we actually have a lot of friends that are in their 40s and either just having their second child or, they've got toddlers in the home. And my wife and I, we started early. So we're a little bit different on the spectrum, but I do try to relate to those people in that situation because I know how my body's changed. My energy's changed as I've come into my 40s versus how I was in my early 30s or my 20s, just things change. And because of that, I've had to change sort of how I commit to my health and do certain things, even fitness. But what I found was here's this gentleman in his 40s with a young toddler. He's at the park one day. His toddler's playing around, not even 5 years old yet. And, like kids will do, they're running around, they're playing, they're having fun. He's on the playground. He's sitting on the bench with another parent, just sort of talking, just observing, watching the kids having a great time. And then all of a sudden, his son bolts towards the road. There's all these parked cars. The kid's a small kid, but he's bolting towards the road because they had kicked the ball that way. So he's just chasing the ball. The dad can see there's a car coming down that road. The ball is heading straight into the middle of the roadway. There's all the parked cars. There's no way that vehicle can see this. The dad's like 30, 40 feet away from the kid. He stands up and he starts to run. He can't catch his kid. He was fortunate enough that the person driving that car saw the ball jet out, stopped as the kid just literally feet in front of that bumper ran out to get the ball. Fortunately, the driver was aware, was able to stop him down. But that dad, I'll tell you, mid-40s, all of a sudden realized, oh my goodness, I couldn't keep up to my 5-year-old. I couldn't protect them. I'll tell you, he made a huge commitment, lost 120 pounds, changed his life. Took him some time to do that, but I'll tell you, he's never going back there because he wants to be the protector. He wants to be able to support his family, but at the same time, he wants to feel confident that he can do so. And so that was that moment where he realized, oh my goodness, I've got to prioritize my health. I want to, like this is
absolutely.
a necessity. And
that's real motivation.
Exactly. And, and I'll tell you, he was motivated in the gym all the time. I remember seeing him there all the time. I'm like, what the heck's going on? And that's when he shared that story with me, and I was like, holy smokes, I can see how that can make a huge shift. But here's the unfortunate thing, Max. Many of us wait until that moment. I'll just wait until we're at the rock bottom. And then even then I'll just pick the rock up and I'll crawl under it just to show that I can get a little bit lower. And then we all of a sudden are like, okay, now I'm ready to make some changes. Well, why wait? Why wait till that moment? As the old adage goes, right? What's the best time to plant a tree? Well, 20 years ago or today, right? Like, when's the best time to get healthy? Well, probably yesterday or right now, And so that's what I like to encourage people with. Don't wait until you have a moment to start prioritizing your health. And And usually people resonate with that, but not everybody. There's some of us that are tough learners, right?
It's funny. But yeah, when you put it like that, it's really easy to see. That's really a great story. This goes right to the heart of it. When it comes to your whole life fitness manifesto book, is this one of the pillars in it for motivation? I mean,
I do talk to that. Yeah. Like I'm a big fan of mindset because it's helped me a lot, but it's also caused me a lot of grief. Like, just to be honest, like as I know that there's certain things that keep me mentally in a good space, keep me feeling positive, keep me feeling sure of myself, just more clear, more confident, because I think we all want clarity. When we feel clear on things, we feel more confident. And when we feel more confident, we tend to take more decisive action. And is it always the right action? Well, no, not always, but we're in a good enough headspace that we can adapt and learn. And we don't really necessarily look at it as mistakes. We look at, okay, well, that's just another way of how not to do that. Let me try it a different way. But because if we're in more of that positive mindset space, we just look at our situation, but more importantly, the world around us a little bit differently. Oh, yes. But getting there to that place takes a little bit of effort, a little bit of work. It might involve some change. And where I find this is where I've struggled, and I think a lot of other people struggle, is the mindset around change. I think a lot of us tend to feel like a victim of change. It's not like something that we signed up in the morning. Oh yeah, this morning I want more change on my my menu. Please. We're rather change averse as a species, even though we have the resiliency in our DNA to handle lots of change. But sometimes we forget about that, right? We just forget about that. And so again, coming back to fitness, I think it's one of that great little conduits or activities that can build confidence, can build some of that positive feedback that we get when all of a sudden, that flight of stairs that I used to feel huffed and puffed up, I remember at 15, losing the weight. That first 3 months, the biggest change I noticed that my home run was on the 3rd floor in our high school. 3rd floor. I had a lot of stairs to walk up. We didn't have any elevators, like there was a handicapped elevator but that was reserved for the people with wheelchairs. So I was taking the stairs like everybody else. And I remember getting to the top and literally have a little bead of sweat coming down my brow and my heart rate would be palpitating, and I'm like, geez, I'm 15 years old. This should not be happening.
Wow.
But there's
was that the wake-up call for you? Because
it was one of them.
Oh, okay.
And Max, full disclosure, and everyone's listening or watching this, I wanted a girlfriend, okay? So when you start talking about motivation, there's intrinsic, those internal drivers, and then there's extrinsic, those external motivators. For me, there was a lot of external motivation. I saw my buddies, getting closer to girls, having girlfriends, and I was like, I want some of that, But, and this is sad, and it's not to make people feel sad, but I just didn't love myself. And until I could learn to love myself, I wasn't prepared to welcome anybody else in my life. And so that was what I needed to start. I didn't know that at the time, but that's what I discovered as I committed myself to getting healthier. I had to start feeding this muscle between the ears, so to speak, and that's when I started to read different things, started to get around different people. I wish that I had access to a podcast like this when I was 15, but I'm a kid of the 80s, and what was podcasting back then? There really wasn't anybody. I mean, we didn't really have an internet, right? So, but I just know this is such a treasure trove of amazing information that can help people. And back then, I mean, I went to the library, got books out on fitness and nutrition, and my kids still like, Dad, why don't you just Google it? I'm like, I'm older than Google, kids. Oh, wow, Dad, are you older than TV too? And I'm like, you go there, you're not getting your university paid for it. So there you go. But that all being said, health is a rather subjective and personal journey, but I think we can come to some objective agreements on it. And I know that you have some tenets, but this idea of values is what keeps us going and sustains the journey. Without the value piece, it's really easy to get distracted and do something else. But when we do things that are aligned with values, it's amazing how it just feels a little bit more effortless. And that's, I think, something that we should strive for,
That's fantastic. Thank you. I feel motivated and upbeat. I think I'm going to be one of them 1 million people.
Oh, you already are. You already are. Max, what are you talking about? We're both the same.
Looking to motivate.
Same cloth here, man.
I'm really excited about that. on that note,
Mhm.
why 1 million? Why did you come with that particular
I think
number?
it's just a
What
big
was your
number.
thought?
To be honest, I think
It's like,
because
it's
also
a big one.
it is a big number, but as they talk about BHAGs, right, or this big, hairy, audacious goal, that was a big one for me. Could I impact 1 million role models? Now, not 1 million people, but role models specifically, because it's amazing when we think about how we all learn. This is getting back to sort of the mindset piece and that just how our brains work. We learn through modeling. So we see things and then we try to do them ourselves. We might watch a video tutorial, right? We read examples, but we're trying to model another behavior or habit or action. And then there's mentorship, where we have people that coach, support, mentor us to learn, to grow, to adapt, to become more able to do certain things that we've identified or we want to be able to do. But those two are primary when it comes to how we learn and grow as people. That being known, obviously, I want to be able to inspire mentors because mentors are going to help another. Say each one of those people helped 1 or 2 people. Well, I've just exponentially shot that goal way higher than it was before. And I recognize if we have a lot more positive role models modeling and mentoring, the world's going to change. It's just going to change, and we have lots of pockets that's already happening. We see it happening. Maybe not quite to that tipping point yet, but I think it's getting there. I really do. The collective awareness and knowledge with podcasts like this and some of the other mediums that are coming to the forefront.
There's reason to be hopeful.
I think so.
I do too.
I think so.
I agree.
Yeah.
I do.
It's nicer getting up in the morning and being hopeful than the alternative, it's just, I'm going to be blindly optimistic that way at times. And, but it served me well, it served me well.
I'll tell you. Hey, if someone wants to get your book, the whole Life Fitness Manifesto book, I mean, you do coaching as well. Yeah. And so we're touching on this. So you coach, because I got the point by building role models. Mm-hmm. I do get the impression too that part of the coaching that you're doing is for coaches.
Yeah. Yeah. I do work with coaches.
So can you explain a little bit about that?
Sure. So the first thing, the whole Life Fitness Manifesto is pretty much available wherever you can get books. But with my podcast that launched 2 weeks ago, I recorded the whole audiobook and I'm giving it away. So those are some of my initial episodes I launched my podcast with, is actually me narrating my book. So just an FYI, you don't even have to buy it. Now, I know my publisher hates when I say that, but I own the rights. It's my book, so I can do whatever I want. So I'm giving it away for those that are interested, just the 2% Solution podcast. So you don't even have to buy it. You can just go listen to it. But all that being said, when I'm working with coaches, it's really just to try to inspire, educate, and motivate, but do it in a very structured way to help them better understand how can they leverage more modeling and mentorship in their own practices as a coach. Because I've always thought of myself more as a lifestyle mentor than a lifestyle or life coach. I tend to attract people that are looking to do similar things that maybe I've already have experience in doing. So it's a little bit different than just coaching, where we often have a formula or a blueprint and we're then guiding people on that journey. Well, this mentorship piece might be a little bit more specific. I battled with alcohol abuse for 15 years of my life. I live with a chronic autoimmune condition. I was morbidly obese. I'm a father of 2 young adult children. I had a business that was doing 8 figures a year. Like, when you look at some of my background, and I'm not here to talk about that, extensively.
No, but it's totally relevant.
It is relevant. So when I attract certain types of coaches, it's because they're looking to try to grow their own business and practices, but also become more effective as a mentor versus just being a coach. And so I tend to work with them individually through a one-on-one process. But, the stuff that really gets me excited and the stuff I love the most is just working with individuals, especially those people that are, they're on the verge of giving up. Or maybe they have given up again, right? They've tried it again. And I know what it's like to be there. And I think when you have somebody in your corner that's going to encourage you unconditionally, it's amazing how that motivation can start to become much more apparent and a bigger driving force in our lives, because it's also someone else has belief in us. I mean, how many times do we just feel good when someone believes in us? And that's something I want for everybody. So again, that's sort of just extending the why of why I love doing this so much is there was, fortunately for me, at various pivotal moments in my life, that there was somebody there that believed in me, and it made the change much more palatable. I could stomach it more. Okay, there we go. I couldn't say that word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I sure do.
Yeah.
I am like, we're getting near the end.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't want it to end because I'm really enjoying the conversation.
You're gonna
And
be on
I'm
my
sure
podcast,
everybody
so we'll keep it going
listening
there.
is enjoying the conversation. And wow, I mean, you just bring a lot of really great nuggets to the forefront.
Oh, thank you. I try.
So what I would like is there something that I should have asked that you want to talk about that I may have missed?
Well, I can do this really quickly, but what are the best questions to ask oneself when you're feeling like it's time to make some big changes? I won't go in deep on this, but I will just explain the three questions. The first question. So you're feeling like, man, I need to make a change. Like at 15 years old, morbidly obese, looking in the mirror, bawling my eyes out, and like, I hate this person looking back at me. But if I want to make a change, I'm really the only person that can make this happen. I want to get healthy. I don't know how to do it, but I'm prepared. I'm going to do whatever needs to be done to get healthy. When we find ourselves in that place, we're like, okay, I don't know what to do, but I know I'm ready to do something. The thing you got to ask yourself first is, can I do this? Simple, right? It's going to shine a light on probably some education is going to need to be gained. A little bit of wisdom, right? Of applying that knowledge that you gain. Because as you get more confident and clear on what to do, that answer is going to be a yes. Can I do this? Can I do this thing to make some changes? Yeah, I can do this. Great. I feel confident I can do this. Question 2, you follow it up with, if I actually do it, will it work? Because again, a lot of us have past experience and we might be predetermining our fate before we've even started, thinking that, oh, geez, well, I tried that one and I tried that routine. I tried that program. I tried that course. Every time it got results, but then I just ended up coming right back where I was. I don't know if I could do this. Well, that again shows lack of confidence and clarity. So we have to work on that to get to a hell yes. If I do this, will it work? Well, there's examples of other people that have done it. They've gotten results. I'm capable. I think I can follow their steps. I can model what they've done. Yeah, I think I can do this too. Yes. Can I do this? Yes. If I do it, will it work? Yes. This is the last question. Is it worth it? Now, when I'm talking to a team or a company, I can use the term it. Everybody out there that's listening or watching this, I want you to look in the mirror. And when you're answering these three questions, you're going to say, am I worth it? That one, not so easy. All right, not so easy. So what I would say is, if you can't get to a hell yes on that right out of the gate, that's okay. 3B, who do I need to get around to support me with this change? Because when you're not feeling confident about yourself and your own value, get around a community of like-minded people that are experiencing life similarly, want similar things, and inevitably, they're going to be able to model and mentor you to get to that place where all of a sudden, when you are looking in the mirror and say, am I worth it? Because you've had 100 people screaming at you, you're worth it. All of a sudden, you're going to start to believe it. I'm worth it too. And those three questions are the same questions I invite anybody and everybody to consider whenever you're starting to be on that precipice of feeling there's time to make some changes. And so that's where I'll leave it.
Wow. Hey, I just am very appreciative that you're here and sharing this information. And I know it's going to go the distance for people that are in that place where they're stuck. They need the motivation. They don't know where to go next. 1, 2, 3
bada bing, bada boom.
Will not be forgotten. We're definitely going to highlight that in the show notes.
Awesome. Right on. Well, Dr. Fitness Max, I just want to quickly say thank you for the opportunity today to be here. And I've enjoyed this conversation very, very much, but I also get it. We're two souls that are all in on this, and I'm just going to put it out there publicly. I can't wait to continue the conversation, but we'll continue it on my podcast. And I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be great.
Hey, that'll be great. Hey, Dai, thank you again for joining us. And I want to thank the listeners too for tuning in to another episode of Your Health Moment. I look forward to speaking with you again next week. Take care and bye for now. Thank you for listening to this episode of Your Health Moment podcast. If you enjoyed what you've heard, you can visit our website, yourhealthmoment.com, for past episodes, show notes, and all the resources that we mentioned on the show. Feel free to connect with me on social media too. Send me a DM and let me know what your thoughts are about the episodes that you've been listening to. And don't be shy about requesting any other show topics that you might like to explore.